Sex is often seen as purely physical, a source of pleasure, or a way to connect emotionally, but in the spiritual and subtle realm, sex is far more profound. Every sexual encounter creates energetic bonds and karmic imprints, what classical Hindu and tantric texts called Runanubandha. In this video, we will explore what happens during sex and why some people are affected more than enough others. How memory exchange occurs and why high body counts can carry subtle consequences. This is not a modern model lecture or some religious exploration, but it's an exploration of energy, consciousness, and karma. When two people have sex, something remarkable happens. It's not just the exchange between the fluids, but there is a certain memory exchange, and that creates what's called Runanubandha. You can imagine this as a luminous tube or a cord forming between two people. Originating from the Muladhara chakra, the root of life energy in the subtle body. Now I don't know whether this is an actual astral tube or not. In my personal experience, this has played out, but I'm not sure if it's a tube, but there is certainly a memory exchange as far as I have seen. I will share a personal experience now to tell you how a sexual impact caused a memory exchange between me and my partner and how I understood what Runanubandha is. So I dated someone a while back, and I had some physical encounter with her. I did not have sex with her, but there was some physical intimacy between us for a short period of time. Now, I was in a deep spiritual path. I was meditating daily. And I was observing my own mental and emotional patterns. But I noticed something very remarkable after the encounter with my ex-girlfriend. Certain thoughts, certain patterns, certain emotions started coming up in me, which were not really mine. It felt as if they were alien. And on a side note, after I had an encounter with her, she suddenly started developing a knack for spirituality and spiritual practices. I was in touch with her for a couple of months after we broke up. I observed that the growth that she was demonstrating was something that took me a year to get to alone. She just got it. And she was able to understand the spiritual depth that I was experiencing. To the point that when I share my spiritual insights to others, they're generally not able to understand or fathom or are comfortable with my experiences or my insights, but for some reason she was able to understand it. I have met people who are doing spiritual sadhana and yet are not comfortable talking about those things related to spirituality, even though they aren't necessarily bad things. But for some reason she was able to understand it and enjoyed it too. After 1 or 2 years, when I had a discussion with her again, I observed that she's no longer into spirituality anymore the way she was just after our physical encounter. The connection with me died off on her end. I did not have sex with her. So the connection, even though was there when we were dating and even after we stopped dating for a while, but it later died down between us, because the Runanubandha was not that intense. This is the first-hand experience I have with Runanubandha. So what I'm about to tell you is, don't take my word, do and experiment this. And if you had or if you are having sexual encounters, then look within yourself and see if you are able to see those patterns yourself, that when you had an encounter with another person, you took something which was not really yours, not really your patterns, but you took them from another person. Now I'm going to go on a little tangent and say that women receive a much stronger dosage of memory exchange / Runanubandha as compared to men from sexual encounters. I have observed this personally as a man in my ex-girlfriends. I have been with 2 women in my life till now, and both of them took quite a substantial amount of patterns from me, in my opinion, compared to how much I took from them. Why does this happen? Because women in general experience a stronger energetic imprint from sexual encounters. This is not about stereotype. It's because of the biology of a woman. A woman's body has been constructed in such a way that a woman's subtle and physical systems are designed to retain memory of a partner to potentially pass it on to offspring. Sex or sexual encounters has a primary motive or passing on to your offspring. So in that sense, the memory exchange happens so that women can pass on that memory to the offspring. That is why in the astral sense, this psychic cord, which we were imagining earlier, tends to be more potent or lasting in women and leaves a much stronger imprint. It can influence a woman's emotional patterns, attractions and even spiritual tendencies a great deal more. So a woman who wants to live a happy life, but she gets an idea that, okay, I should sleep with this kind of man, and that man turns out to be toxic. Yeah, your friends will like it and maybe you will get validated a lot, but you will gain a much stronger memory exchange from that toxic man. You'll gain his toxic patterns in some form or another, and that is up to you whether you want to do it or not. Maybe getting that validation is more important than preserving your integrity. That's up to you to decide. I am no one to judge here, but I'm telling you, whether you sleep with a sage or a toxic man, you will get memory imprints from that man. And same goes for men. I have seen personally that I have gotten memory imprints from women, but again, it was not as strong or not as lasting as I have seen it happen in women. And this is in line with the biology of women. Now, let's explore high body count. The high body count is very much normalized in our modern culture, and to some extent even appreciated. Women do it to not feel left out and men do it because men have been validated to have high body counts. But from my observation and spiritual study, I have seen that frequent sexual encounters create a lot of Runanubandha which has unpleasant consequences. This is from my personal observation as well as what I have read and understood and listened from spiritual masters and traditional texts. Each sexual encounter leaves a subtle imprint. Now, for a person with high body count, what happens to that person is they get a lot of different kind of memories from all over the place. And this may cause one of these patterns or more. One pattern is that they might have an emotional insecurity in relationships. Second pattern is compulsive seeking of multiple partners to feel validated. This compulsive seeking may happen when a person with high body count, to cover up their emotional insecurity, starts to have multiple partners at the same time, just to not feel insecure. Third pattern is that, the person with high body count may get addicted to substances like alcohol or may indulgence in smoking, or may do some other indulgences to cope up with inner loneliness or dissatisfaction. I am not a person with a high body count, but I have seen when I have given into sexuality a lot, or sexual encounters, I have seen that my attachment increases and within me, insecurity flares up particularly in the form of jealousy. That's how it manifests for me. And the fact is I don't even have a high body count. Imagine multiplying this effect across many partners. The fragmentation becomes significant. Many people with high body count will often suppress these patterns and these patterns will emerge in the personality and the future choices in way more in a lot of ways than you can imagine. The only way to get clear of this through a certain kind of cleansing. If you have high body count, or even if you have one or two partners that you have slept with, if you want to cleanse yourself. Now, there are multiple ways of cleansing. That's why I was giving multiple options. One might be spiritual practices, another might be just exerting yourself physically, maybe doing a lot of jogging, a lot of running, a lot of trekking. Connecting with nature a lot, but this needs to be on a much bigger scale. An activity like farming can be a very good choice. Third form of cleansing is let life happen to you. If you are lucky and you'll go through a lot of pain in your life. Pain is a very good cleanser for Runanubandha in my experience. So regardless, actually, even if you do spiritual practices and you exert yourself physically a lot, you will go through some pain. There will be some cleansing for you in the form of pain manifesting and you don't have to fight against the pain. When I said that painful cleansing, the third one, which automatically happens for some people, that is painful because one might resist it. Yes, there will be pain in all of these things, but you can avoid suffering by just focusing on your spiritual practices. I know that today, high body count is normalized in our culture. I am a Gen Z guy, but the social norm has very hidden consequences, especially for those seeking spiritual growth or someone who's seeking very deep, meaningful connections. Or if you want to feel the love feeling with a romantic love. To a very good extreme. I have felt it, guys, and I have felt it because I was doing spiritual practices and exercising a lot as well, so I had a particular cleansing mechanism. Because of that, I was able to feel that love with someone. But excess sexual encounters will create, they will reduce your capacity for emotional intimacy, make the mind prone to comparison even unconsciously, and disperse energy, making spiritual progress more difficult. It disperses energy and deviates your mind from spiritual practices. So now, if you are a virgin listening to this and you have a low body count, you are not really missing out on anything. Ignore today's culture of overly exaggerating the value of high body count. Just do your practices. You're actually retaining energy that can be devoted to love, awareness, spiritual evolution, or even material success. But if you have a high body count, it's not like you are doomed. But you need to first recognize that high body count creates problems for you, either consciously or subconsciously. You have to recognize that first love and happiness are still possible, but as I said, you need to do certain cleansing. Energy cleaning, which will happen through certain meditative practices. I would recommend Aisha Foundation's spiritual practices, as they initiate you into powerful kriyas which are publicly accessible. I'm not saying that Sadhguru is the only one who can initiate you into powerful kriyas. But I'm saying, practically speaking, their kriyas do work. You can check them out and you can experiment yourself. Don't take my word, experiment and see if you feel even a little bit happiness or joyfulness or peacefulness from the meditations, then that means it's working. Don't listen to the social norms of, oh, Sadhguru is bad, gurus are scammers. Just follow what is good for you. But before you start the cleansing process, you have to acknowledge that high body count is not suited for human body. This is not about morality. I'm not telling you ethically or that God will be sad if you have high body count. This is how a human body's made. You have to be aware of it. Cocaine is not good for the body. In the same way, high body count is also not good for your mental health and well-being. So the key is awareness, moderation and responsibility. I'm not saying sex is bad, but limit your body count and sexual encounters, preferably to one person. With someone you want to share it with for the rest of your life. And especially if you are on spiritual path or you want to experience deeper states of love, I would say stick to this and keep your body count to almost close to 1, and observe yourself, your own patterns, so that you will eventually see that this is not some religious talk, this is science. You have to see it for yourself as well, but most of all, protect your energy and you will have a greater capacity for true love, fulfillment, and spiritual growth. Thank you.